Hello again, traders. Right, this is take 3 of this video. Because I get these coughing fits. I apologise. I've got a croaky throat, dry throat at the moment. Nothing wrong with me except a tickly cough. I noticed something while making this video about this morning's trade. Let's take the scroll off. That is worthy of a complete video about it, or being a new subject. So zoom in. This morning's trade was box standard 2B reversal, long trade, really easy decision making process. You can see it's a 2B reversal, you can see it's a line chart 2B reversal. That's where the lower high was broken by price, about there. And what I did was I'm avoiding US 30. Well, I looked at it, and my normal Asia trade would be DAX, but you go with the flow. This is why I do what I do. Apologies, that goes on from about 5 in the morning. Vietnam wakes up about 4. Most of the people and they're on the beach by 5 exercising. I'm talking thousands of the residents here. It's just such a fantastic lifestyle. It's so uplifting. And the horns and the beeping, that's their way of life, so I'm not going to criticise that. It doesn't bother me in the least bit. I'm smiling as I'm talking to you because life here just makes me smile. But getting back to this particular trade, I looked here, I could see it was looking good. Then I looked on the higher time frame to see what happened yesterday while I was either on the beach or sleeping. There was no way I wanted to go short. And this is what happened. Yesterday I made some charts, put them up, and I was looking for longs when it clearly went short on me. I didn't want to be trading short, so I walked away. I got a few nice trades yesterday anyway, gold and such like, and I think I got a little cheeky US 30, probably US 30 long actually, if I remember correctly. Anyway, today's trade, easy, all the usual stuff. I entered by studying H1 and M30. I'll show you, and I've used this many times in my previous videos. If that's green when I'm considering entering, I'll put a level on where I entered. That's green or turning green, and this was green, and I used this, I live by this. The TMA slope was green. I can't go short. Green. Excuse me. Over here at this stage yesterday, I couldn't really go short because the TMA was green. I'm not going to wait around all day for it to decide whether it is a sell. So I just hit the beach, and today is another day. And you could clearly see what happened. But it was news related. That's right. I remember saying on the Twitter feed, news is causing a major problem because you've got to wait. It's going to do something and running up to the news, and then quite probably do the opposite after the news. The big players, the institutions, put themselves in a position to make an enormous amount of money. So they sell to get their position to a discounted buy, and then they buy and make billions. And it is that simple. It's not liquidity hunts. It's not fair value gaps. It's not all that bullshit. Although that is liquidity hunting, but they're creating their own liquidity. But believe what you want. All I believe is this, and these, and obviously all of these levels on the charts. Now, the video started off talking about that. I don't want to talk about that. I've talked about trades 1,000 times. What I noticed today, and I haven't made enough of a note about it or even studied it in any great deal, is the way price reacts when it absolutely crashes through support levels like they forced it to do yesterday. And I noticed something today for the first time, because it's never crossed my mind before really, although the the pivots, the daily pivots, are on my charts for the very reason I talk about all the time. Exactly the same as Dean's lines as well. Let's get Dean's lines off the charts for the moment, although we should talk about them at some stage as well. Oh, well, I will just say quickly, Dean's lines are priceless. Dean built it for free for us, so that makes him priceless as well. And they are how to educate yourself in supply and demand, support and resistance. I prefer to use supply and demand, actually. I swapped from support and resistance to supply and demand, and that was a big eureka moment in my trading history. That's another thing. But they educate you because you're going to watch price and you're going to see those levels and you're going to see how it reacts to them. You're going to see how it tests them multiple times in many current stages, and you cannot unsee that stuff. So as a trader today, I put my final take profit where I knew it would fail, or let's put it another way, it would stutter, stagger, whatever you want to call it, because it was a pivot line. And old pivot lines affect price. The daily open lines from previous days and weeks and months affect price. People say, why don't you use weekly pivots and monthly pivots? Well, they are as powerful and more powerful than the dailies, but there does come a limit when you can have too much on your charts. And people say, I have, but you have to use what is comfortable for you. I use what is comfortable for me. I leave tons and tons of pips on the charts every day. Let's just get rid of this. That I shouldn't do because maybe I've got too many levels on the charts, but who cares? As long as you make money, it doesn't matter. So Dean's lines are off. So now we can look clearly at these pivots, and that was where I took my final profit on today's trade. In fact, I can put it on the chart. And what what I often do is split my trades into two, so that I can put one to run to the final profit, so 20% of the trade, and 80% that I can set a lower take profit of. The percentages vary enormously, but where is the history? That's it there. So take profit at that point there for the final part of the trade. And it roughly hit. Let's have a look at the 5 minute. It roughly, excuse me, nearly hit that there. But if I take my profit, I don't know whether it did hit it. So no, it didn't. So if I put my profit target there and not take a note off the old S1, which was still below yesterday's support levels that were busted by price action, then I would have suffered some drawdown and whatnot. And as I say all the time, I'm not worried about taking trades and missing pips, as it were, because I can re-enter. Providing everything stacks up on these, then I just go back into a trade. It's that simple. As long as I'm not on the beach or whatever, delete. So let's have a look at those pivots again, because this is a whole new area of learning. Price has absolutely smashed through them, but saying that, it hit, bounced, broke it, and this is how I use these indicators. Well, if it closes through it with one of my triggers, if you like, either that, or that, they're all good, fantastic, not just good, they're fantastic, then that's how I know that this is ready to go. And where did it go to? I'm not sure what I think. No, I'll put that in, so that was part of an earlier video. So, but what I noticed, and I've not studied at all, and this is a whole new project for me soon, is when it blasts through those extreme pivots because of the, as I said, the institutions driving price to an absolutely horrendously or fantastically discounted level, and then look what they do to send out. But look how the pivots then support gets used as resistance, and a support level gets used as resistance here. I mean, that is just a whole new education for me, looking at the pivots. And I'm always looking for new ways to use what's on the charts, and this is one of them. That's why I've shared it, really. But so hopefully I've covered quite a lot. News: forced price down, then exploded, and then I ain't going to be wanting to go short when they've cleaned the table, if you like, cleaned the board of all people's stops and whatever you want. There's all sorts of expressions for that. So today's long was a no-brainer, really, and everything on my charts is there for a reason, and then we can, it's 2 clicks, and all of my, I might as well do this. You can see, you can go find the indicator. It's not called that. I just call these things all sorts of stupid things when I change settings on them. So apologies for that. It is, I think it is called Dean's Lines, I think. Or, yeah, it must be. Anyway, you'll have to go and have a look online. But the settings for this, as you can see here now, draw all the levels, open, high, low, close. You can set your own colours. I like yellow for resistance and versions of green for support levels. Open, close levels, self-explanatory. The important thing now, and this is important because I should change them more. I should have created one of these for each of my thought process. One for when we're at extreme highs, when you're at extreme highs, or unusual recent highs, then obviously you want to go back more weeks and more months, because you will have, and days, because if you've had 50 days of bearishness, you're not going to have any information for the 50 days that you need the information or being above you. So I hope that makes sense, guys. So maybe I ought to call it 50 days, 100 days, 5 days, 10 days, whatever. Anyway, hopefully that explains that. So my default is how many monthly levels? 10. How many? That's a year nearly, isn't it? How many weekly levels? 10. If you're not careful, you have too many levels, so you have to play around with it. But what I always do when I'm using the bog standard, like this one, if you like, my go-to default, I'll scroll down the other settings so that you can pause this, and then you'll get all the settings. I need to change this and move this to the top, because it's a pain in the ass scrolling through to the bottom all the time. It just needs to be there. But that's it. So we can put those levels back on now, my chosen parameters, and there they all are. So today, notice I used the pivot, and there was also a D1 open from the 11th of May, 2 days ago now, and the daily open line was a big decider in my trade. I mentioned in part 1, take 1, that the daily open line had been tested here. Let's put the candles back on. But it hadn't done a proper test, which was another reason I wanted to go long at that point. And then, but I wasn't really trading the test of the daily open, although I knew price would struggle at that point, or have a little test and then continue, because, as I said, I was trading this big move to the downside against the long-term trend. You can put that on the chart if you like. Pivots, I need to change the settings for on the default of this. Apologies. It's like pivots, indicators, list. keep forgetting to set this as default. So as you see, massive uptrend on H4, and so it's done. We could analyse this and have a look at this as well. Let's have a look at the daily. Looks like it's hit this congestion zone here. The open, high, low, close. Drag and drop, modify stops. That's not it. No, I created a special little flip open, flip close. Apologies, I use these things so rarely. So that closed at that point there. We had a doji, and then we had the open, which was lower, gap down on that particular daily open. But as you can see, price didn't quite test it, but on this daily, the H4, there's a strong area around here. So we could go with my little flip thing, flip close. So it tested this area here, and that's how I teach myself what's going on. So it's tested an area, and for all the other reasons, I decided long was where I wanted to be going today. I noticed this was actually an engulfing candle too. You can see that by these the open, close there, and the open there. It was outside of that, and that did cross my mind too. You can't avoid learning about screen time and charts. So so many things. You can make it as simple as you like, or you can educate yourself. People say it's overdoing it and all that, overcomplicated, but that's what I did with the 3CR and the 2B reversal. And here on this H4 chart, RSI is telling me I can't possibly looking for shorts. We're above zero and we're green. We should be looking for longs, and that's part of the subconscious analysis. It goes on every time frame. I double check everything, and that's what I wanted. My weakness is actually holding trades. I'm a scalper, and I accept that my massive weakness for myself is that I cannot abide sleeping in trades, swimming while trades are on, unless obviously I've taken 8% off or whatever, 99% off. I tend not to let trades run. There are trades everywhere. There are trades almost every minute of every day, depending on how good you are. And I wouldn't consider myself a good scalper. I just consider myself a safe scalper, if you like. I didn't want to be going short there. I'd rather be swimming. But and it was a news day. We've got news days every day this week, by the looks of it. But I know this long was as safe as I could possibly make it, and there you go. That's what life's all about. I mean, there's daily open here, an old daily open. That's going to be massive. I may put weekly opens on the charts to analyse them. Actually, I'll see what that shows. But anyway, guys, sorry for the rambling video. I hope the sound was better. There was a comment yesterday about using OBS. Thank you for the commenter. OBS I find brain-numbingly difficult to use, especially when I'm not using it on a daily basis. I used to make 5 or 6 videos a day in the old days, and I would have been fine. But if I'm making 1 or 2 a month, then I've totally forgotten what OBS has done with a month in between videos. This thing, I've set it up to work properly now. It was just a question of an email address and a couple of clicks, so it's all done. and we're good to go. So apologies for the ramble. As always, I suggest you put my videos on double speed, and at some stage I will get a proper speaker and I will get a proper mouse pad instead of using a bit of old cardboard, and I will start to do one-on-one paid-for sessions, maybe, possibly wait till the rainy season, which last year came about mid-October. It was beautiful weather until October. And then I think, if memory serves me correctly, in Vietnam, the first year I got here, we had weeks and weeks of rain. This year, I doubt whether I can count on one hand when we had a full day's rain. I doubt whether there were 5 entire days' rain, which is bad for the country because it means they're in a drought. The rivers are absolutely dry as a bone, the ones that I've been past anyway. So anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. Have a great day, traders. Hope you've learned something from today's video, and I will probably start to make a few more if I get good feedback. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.